All right, let's do the damn thing. I think you know how it is. Always got to wait for Facebook to like get its life together. Always have a weird thing going on with my hoodies. What's up, you guys? Happy Friday, Junior. Coming at you with a little lunchtime or early afternoon live for you. So if you are watching this live, I would love for you to like tap that like or drop a comment or something. And if you're watching this later on, maybe you're not watching it in real time, that's cool too. Drop a like, let me know, because I like to know who's engaging. And of course, if you are watching live, please feel free to ask questions, drop comments, give whatever chiming in you want to do, because that just makes this more fun for me, right? It's easier if I actually have somebody to engage with rather than just talking to myself. I feel like I do that a lot in my life. So anyways, I had asked you guys this question here. I can't remember if it was like a week or two ago, and I asked you all about like what are the top like worst pieces of nutrition advice that you had heard over the years, because we know we've all heard plenty. We know we've all followed plenty, right? Like I am certainly no stranger to following the fad diets, the yo-yo diets, the MLMs, all that bullshit. And a lot of that was pretty evident in your guys' responses as well, that you're no stranger to that either. So let's dive right in. Let's get to the nitty gritty and do all the things. So the first thing that I got here, and I'm going to try to do a little screen sharing and stuff, but you guys know how I am with technology. It's not exactly my best friend. So we'll see how it goes. And I have like multiple screens up and stuff. So like, excuse me if I'm not making great eye contact with the camera. I swear it's because I'm trying to multitask and I'm not very good at it. So somebody here had said the fat-free craze of the 90s. Extra sugar crept in there and made us fatter. Like, ain't that the damn truth? So one thing I wanted to show is a breakdown. I'm going to turn off my little walking pad here so I don't trip and fall. But I'm going to show you guys a breakdown of like a reduced fat product versus just the regular product. So let's see if I can figure this out here. We are going to open up this. Oh, I don't want that. I'm going to do a tab instead. No, we'll do a window. Cool. Figure it out, Crystal. Get your life together. Okay, we'll see if this works. So this product right here, perhaps something you're familiar with. It is some reduced fat peanut butter. Okay, so reduced fat. And I love that this is what we're starting with, because I get to break down some nutrition labels for you. And this is something I want to actually try to do like a series of. If that's something you're interested in, you're like, hey, I have no idea what it means when people tell me to look at the food label. Will you please let me know? Because that's a conversation I actually had with one of my friends last week when we were out on a walk together. She has learned a ton from me over the past few years. However, she was saying how back in the day, people could tell her to look at a food label and that just didn't mean shit to her. She's like, okay, I'm looking at it. Now what? So let's do a little comparison here between reduced fat Jif creamy peanut butter versus just a regular Jif creamy peanut butter. Okay, let's do the damn thing. So we're going to scroll down to the nutrition information. First off, I'm going to do the reduced fat. All right. And I'm sorry that I have to go back and forth, but I don't want to have like multiple tabs and stuff open. So we're going to do this as best as possible. So here's our reduced fat. It says it's 36 grams. So that's what a serving size is, you guys. So if you were to be weighing this out on your food scale, the easiest way to actually measure things like peanut butter or something is to actually physically put the jar on the food scale. You press 0 or tear it out or whatever. And then if you wanted to if you wanted to have 36 grams, you wanted to have a full serving of the peanut butter, take your spoon or your knife or whatever and scoop out those 36 grams, because this is going to give you a more accurate measurement. As opposed to, let's say you're trying to put peanut butter on a piece of bread or in your oatmeal or something, you then have to keep like adding a little bit of peanut butter onto the item that's on the food scale. Again, this is the easy hack on how to make your life so much easier to get the exact amount of peanut butter that you want. Anyways, let's dive into the food label. 36 grams. Okay, that's a full serving. Calories, 190. Total fat, 12 grams. Total carbs, 15 grams. Protein, 7 grams. So again, this is the reduced fat peanut butter. Now let's go check out the regular peanut butter. It's not reduced fat, just normal. 33 grams. So a slightly smaller serving size. Okay. Calories are 190. Fat, 16 grams. Carbs, 8 grams. Protein, 7 grams. So we can see here, there's a few differences, right? The serving size on this one is ever so slightly smaller. It's literally a 3 gram difference, which is pretty minuscule. But We look at the fat on here and it's 16 grams. We look at the reduced fat, there's still 12 grams of fat. So here's where a little math is going to be necessary for you. And this is why it's so important to learn how to read a food label, you guys. We know that just because it's reduced fat doesn't mean that it's like necessarily a better product or a lower calorie product or something. And I'm going to apologize for my whiteboard being backwards for you, of course, because it's a camera. It's what it does. But the total fat here is 12 grams on our reduced fat product. So what you need to know is that for every gram of fat, a product or a food gets 9 calories, okay? 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. For every gram of carbohydrate, you get 4 calories. And for every gram of protein, you get 4 calories, okay? So those are very important things you need to know as a consumer, as somebody who wants to give a damn about what they're putting in their bodies, and what sorts of foods they're picking. Again, 1 gram of fat, 9 calories. 1 gram of carb, 4 calories. 1 gram of protein, 4 calories. So if we do the math on all this, I did it earlier, okay, because I knew I was going to have to break it down a little bit. It says it's 190 calories. Okay, we do our 12 times 9, gives us 108 calories from fat in this one. We do 15 times 4, 15 from the carbs, times 4 gives us 60 calories. And then 7 times 4 for the protein gives us 28 calories. So a grand total of actually 196 calories in this. But here's the thing about food labels, they round and stuff like all that time. Round and stuff like that all the time. Because think about this. How often do you go to a grocery store and you see something where the calories end with a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or something, right? They almost always end with a 0 or a 5. They're rounding those numbers all the time. And of course, they're going to want to round 196 down to 190. Like they can. Food labels can lie, you guys. They're going to tell you what they want you to see, okay? So we know there's 196 calories in this. Whatever. Now let's go to the other one and see what the difference is. We've got 16 grams of fat. So we do our 16 times 9, gives us 144 calories coming from fat. We're doing our carbs, 8 of them. So dramatically less carbs in this one. There's only 8 as opposed to in the reduced fat one, there was 15, almost double the amount of carbs, okay? But anyways, back to this, 8 times 4 gives us 32 calories coming from carbs. And then 7 times 4, again, is giving us 28 calories coming from protein, okay? So first off, if you ever try to tell me that, oh, I eat a lot of protein, I eat nuts, or I eat peanut butter or nuts are like a good source of protein, they're not. Because as you can see, the least amount of calories in peanut butter is coming from protein. You're only getting 28 calories in this version, and you're only getting 28 calories in the other version. Nuts are a source of fat. They are fat. They are not protein. They're not high protein. They're counting minuscule amounts towards your protein allotment. You're getting, again, 144 calories from fat. You're only getting 28 from protein. Nut butter is not a high protein food. I cannot tell you how many times I've had this damn argument with people, and it's so annoying. It tells me, again, they just don't know what they're talking about, which is fine. But like, stop talking out of your ass, okay? So again, when we do the math and we add up all those calories, this one actually adds up to 204 calories. Okay, so 204 calories in the regular creamy peanut butter as opposed to 196 in the reduced fat peanut butter. It's an 8-calorie difference. It's really not that big of a deal. So yeah, sure, you could say that this one is lower calorie, whatever. Is it going to make a huge deal if you're using a peanut butter that is 8 calories more or less than the other? Not really. You're probably going to go with whichever one you prefer based off of taste and all that good stuff. All right. So I loved that first one where somebody again brought up the fact that like, hey, having the argument of like low fat being a good thing isn't necessarily a good thing. So I have people that'll ask me about like various cottage cheeses or Greek yogurts or whatever cheese or dairy products or even different cuts of meat and stuff. It's really up to you on your preference. So for me, I'm somebody who I prefer to use a low fat cottage cheese when I'm using cottage cheese in like my crack bowls or my overnight oats or something, because I like to get my fats from other things. I would rather get fats from avocado or from nut butter or from cookie butter or something like that. I want to get my fats from things that I actually like enjoy getting fats from. So I choose to use low fat products. A lot of people don't really care for the flavor of those low fat or reduced fat products. And so that's totally fine. If they want to have those fattier products, that is great, right? It means they're probably going to have just not the same sort of nutritional profile in terms of like protein to fat ratio in those types of products. So for instance, My husband, I buy him the 8812 ground beef at Costco. It's not that there's anything wrong with that beef. It's just that he gets a lot more calories than I do. So he can stand to have a few extra grams of fat in that cut of beef. Whereas for me, I prefer to buy the 96.4 or the 93.7 lean beef that I can buy at King Supers or something, so that I can save that fat for other foods that I want, right? I don't care if I have a fatty beef. I would rather save those fats for other important things like avocado and cookie butter and nut butter and egg yolks and stuff like that. So I love this. I'm getting some good feedback in the chat here. Charlotte and Megan would love to have a breakdown of the labels. Susan says, who knew food labels lied? Yes, I knew that, right? I didn't always know that, but from doing so much of this, I know, and I want to teach you guys how to know these things too, so you can stop falling victim to marketing schemes. I actually have a reel coming up soon talking about like net carbs and stuff and why that is so ridiculous, but that'll be released on a later date and you guys can learn from there. So anyways, again, I really, really loved that first conversation about reduced fat products versus, regular full fat products, okay? So let's go on to the next one so I can keep my screen share up. So somebody here said something about because it's gluten-free or organic, it's automatically 100% better for you, which sometimes that's true, but other times they're loaded with sodium and sugar. So that is totally something to be aware of, you guys, is just because it says gluten-free or organic doesn't mean that it's just inherently better for you. It doesn't mean it's inherently healthier for you. There are people who have dietary restrictions who cannot have gluten or should not have gluten or whatever. And so those products can be great for them to understand, like, okay, these are products that are like safe for me and are not going to make me ill, right? Whereas for the general population, if you're buying those things and you think you're healthy, it's not a thing, right? It's just not. So I actually had this chat with my one-on-one clients recently where I was talking about, people fall into this dogmatic approach of like, they follow a diet, so they are that thing, right? I follow a vegan diet, I'm a vegan. I'm a vegetarian, I'm keto, like I'm whatever, right? So I've seen so many people that have come to work with me that are like, yeah, I'm vegan or vegetarian, or I don't eat a lot of meat. And I'm like, okay, well, why? And they're like, oh, it's literally just because they think it's healthier. It's not because they like love animals, they don't want to kill the animals or whatever. They just think like, if I follow this thing, it automatically makes me healthy. And it's like, but you're not healthy. Like, look at what's going on with you. There's nothing healthy about you. So then I go to look at their food logs, and again, their like vegan or vegetarian things are a bunch of crap products, overly processed, prepackaged, hyper palatable bullshit that simply has things on it with labels like vegan or heart healthy or keto or gluten-free. It does not equal healthy when it has those labels on it, you guys. If you want to really break it down, the amount of prepackaged food versus actual vegetables that I've seen from vegetarians is abysmal. They're eating a lot of food-like products, things that are engineered to be foods, rather than eating plants all day, right? Like, I eat more plants in my diet as somebody who also eats a plenty of animal products every day. I eat a crap ton more vegetables and fruits than those people do. And yes, I am healthier than them. And yes, I am on my ivory tower looking down on them saying, get on my level and eat some goddamn plants. Because again, you're not just healthy because you follow a certain diet, okay? You're healthy because you follow a diet that has a lot of flexibility and variations and varieties of foods that you enjoy that also make you look good, feel good, perform well, okay? So with that, let's break down a couple of labels. So I just did a quick little Google search here. I was like, I'm going to just Google like some gluten-free crackers. Okay, so let's look at some labels here. Millen's gluten-free. So you see this at the store, right? I've seen these, I'm pretty sure, at Costco before. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. They're just delicious crackers, guys. Like, there's nothing inherently healthy about them just because they're gluten-free. So let's look at a food label here, okay? We've got 130 calories. There's 30 grams in a serving. So if you were to measure it out, it might be somewhere around 14 crackers, but you would want to weigh this on a food scale. You shouldn't trust, because crackers are not the same shape and size. They break and all that fun stuff. So 30 grams of crackers, 130 calories, 4 grams of fat, 22 grams of carbs, 0 fiber, 2 grams of protein. Okay, so this is our gluten-free cracker. Then I just put in like wheat thins because that's something I'm pretty familiar with. It doesn't say anything about being gluten-free or anything on here, so I'm just gonna say this is probably just a regular standard cracker that most people have had at some time. So they're saying that there's 140 calories. The serving size, it's not, I'd have to look at like a real one because it says 16 pieces. I would want to know the weight of it. So I'd have to look at the actual food label on the product, and it would likely give me something like 30 grams or whatever. So anyways, in 16 pieces, there's about 140 calories, 5 grams of fat, 22 carbs, 3 grams of fiber, and 2 grams of protein. So let's go back to this one. 130 calories, 4 grams of fat, 22 carbs, 0 fiber, 2 protein. If I were to pick one or the other, I would probably go with the wheat thins simply because I'm going to at least get a little bit of fiber from them, right? Like when I'm looking at foods, I mostly want to know like, okay, is there any source of protein in here? Is there any source of fiber in here? You know, can I pronounce most of the names of the ingredients in the food? Like those are things I'm looking at. But if I were to just look at these two labels and I didn't know anything about the food, I didn't even know it was a cracker or a cookie or anything like that, I would probably go with this one because the fat's pretty similar. The carbs, I think, were the same. Yeah, the carbs are the same. The protein is the same, but this one has a little bit more fiber. And this is the one that is not gluten-free. So people would automatically probably go towards the gluten-free thinking healthier, and that's not necessarily the case. Okay. So I hope that that one was helpful just to give you a little bit more background. Let's see what else we have here. So I'm going to stop presenting because I think those are the only two things that I actually like prepared in advance to have little slides for. And I'm going to turn my walking treadmill back on, or my walking pad back on, because I need to get some steps in. All right. So somebody says here, I saw a ginormous bag of gummy bears at Sprouts. I'm talking like 15 pounds, and it said fat free in huge letters. And I seriously laughed out loud and had to explain myself to fellow shoppers. I guess they want us to think that's good for us. So this kind of went with like the whole fat-free thing where somebody else was commenting on that person's post. And exactly, right? Like they think, like all these people think with marketing and all that stuff that they're going to trick you into thinking like, oh, because it's fat-free, don't you want this? Like fat's bad. And so let's talk about why fat got such a bad rap. It likely comes from what I explained to you earlier with that mathematical breakdown. You get 9 calories from every gram of fat versus carbs and protein, you're only getting 4 calories from those. So inherently, fat seems worse than carbs or protein because you're getting more than double the amount of calories from a gram of fat compared to a gram of carb or protein. So that's where that really comes from. But as we saw with the peanut butter, you know, they may have decreased the fat by a little bit, but it just got replaced with more carbs and likely in the form of sugar. So again, super, super important to understand how to break down these labels, you guys. Next one, somebody says to only eat 1,200 calories a day. So yeah, that one's huge. If you've seen any of my breakdowns, you guys, let's do a little screen share action. Let's go to the 1,200 calories. Let's do some screen share. I know I've done these before, but it's always fun to sort of pop back into them a little bit. And I don't want to share that screen with you guys. Let's see if it'll do this one. We're going to go to the TDEE calculator. Okay. So this person said again, like that you're only supposed to eat 1,200 calories. So let's just break down a woman in this group. Let's say I have like a 35-year-old woman in here. Let's say she weighs even 150 pounds. She's 5'5", and she has a sedentary office job, but she does light exercise 1 to 2 days a week. All right. We'll say that's pretty common in this group. I wouldn't be surprised. So for you to be eating 1,200 calories a day, it's not completely unheard of if you're in a fat loss phase, if you're somebody who is very, very sedentary. But if you're anyone else, right? If you're somebody who like is on the go a lot, you've got a busy life and stuff, like we hope that you never have to eat 1,200 calories in order to lose weight. Again, I have clients who are super effing short and already small, petite individuals. They have to cut their calories pretty low sometimes, but I think the lowest I've ever really had anybody on was like 1,300 calories. Again, very small individuals. So it's not completely unheard of, but it's not your average person, right? So I just calculated that. The TDEE, that's your total daily energy expenditure, meaning how many calories you're burning per day on average based off of some different algorithms and equations and stuff here. So in order for this person with light exercise to just maintain their body weight, they would be eating close to 1,900 calories a day. If we look at what this person's, where is it? I know it has it on here somewhere. Okay, where am I at? Losing my mind here. Okay. Let's go to a different one. Let's go to just your BMR. So I could have sworn it was on here. I'm obviously not having my shit together today. So let's do another one. Let's do your BMR calculator. So BMR, that's your basal metabolic rate. Okay. So just, this is what you need to be alive. Okay. So TDEE was all about, hey, this is how many calories you need. Why are you not going? TDEE was how many calories you need just to like be performing at a maintenance level to get through your day-to-day activities. Whereas your BMR, this is how many calories you need to be just alive, just breathing, just blinking, just doing absolutely nothing but living as a human. Let's say, again, let's plug in some stuff here. We're a female, we're 35, we are 5'5", and we weigh 150 pounds. Boom, we're going to calculate this. BMR 1376. So for you to be eating 1,200 calories a day, that's less calories than your body needs in order to support basic functions of living. How are you then going to go work out? How are you then going to keep up with your kids? How are you then going to perform normal day-to-day tasks if you're eating below your basal metabolic rate? Like, it is so, so important to make sure that you are having enough calories to support life, obviously, but then to also support actually feeling good in your life. So again, I suggest going out, checking out the BMR. Once you do your calculations in the BMR, you should never be eating fewer calories than that ever. Okay. TDEE, again, that calculates in your expenditure with your activity levels and stuff. BMR, you should never be eating less than that amount of calories. Okay. Unless you like dying. I don't know. That sounds effing terrible to me. So yeah. All right, we're going to stop presenting there. I'll bring my notes back over here. So don't eat 1,200 calories a day. It's not a thing. You don't need to do it. What you do probably need to do is like restore and rejuvenate your metabolism. I would strongly suggest going through a maintenance phase, going through a reverse diet. If you are somebody who has been eating 1,200 calories a day, get that metabolism roaring as high as you possibly can. Your goal is to eat as many calories as possible while maintaining your weight. And then once you've done that, you've been able to be consistent with that and the daily habits that you need in order to successfully go through a fat loss phase, then you can cut your calories. But that is a topic for a whole other day. All right, this other one. Somebody says carbs are bad. Carbs are not bad, you guys. So again, there's carbs, there's fats, there's proteins. In order for you to live life, you could live without carbs. Okay. You totally could. There are essential macronutrients, and those are proteins and fats. If that's all you ate for the rest of your life, you'd be fine. You would live, you wouldn't die, your body wouldn't shut down. But if you cut out protein or you cut out fats entirely, you would not be able to survive that. I think what I've heard before is that humans could actually live off of just two things. They could live off of beef and off of eggs, and they'd be Gucci. They'd get like all the vitamins and minerals that they need, enough nutrients they need from those two things. However, if we don't have to do that, like, why would we choose to do that? We should be choosing to eat a variety of proteins and plants and, you know, plenty of grains and nuts and seeds and stuff, because we have access to all those things. What we shouldn't necessarily be wasting all of our calories on is a bunch of bullshit that's prepackaged. It makes us feel like garbage, but you know, again, that's a topic for another day. So when people talk about carbs being bad, I think oftentimes what we're mistaking carbs with and being bad or making us fat or unhealthy or whatever is the combination of carbs and fats. Okay, so carbs, fats, and sugars go together a lot to create these really hyper palatable foods that we just want to eat a lot of. Okay, it's totally human nature. They have modified those foods. They have done a ton of studying, a ton of research. They have figured out how to come up with a perfect balance on like things like chips, right? To make them things that you cannot stop eating. You physically like can't remove yourself from that item because of the palatability that they've done with that, right? They've done a ton of testing in order to find out what makes people truly like addicted to this product. How can we get them to keep buying it and eating more of it so that we can make money? A lot of money goes into engineering those foods, you guys. And that's why those foods you shouldn't be eating a ton of. Right? You should be eating more real foods, single ingredient foods, things that walked on the earth, swam in the ocean, or grew on the earth. Those are what should be the abundance of your diet. And those might include carbs, right? Having things like oats and having things like potatoes and breads that are like these great, like I love Dave's Killer Bread. Like having stuff like that is not bad, you guys. Those are really great products that give you carbohydrates, that give you fuel to perform in your day to day. I know for me, if I drop my carbs too low, like I'm just not there mentally, right? It is really tough for me to go on low carb. So whenever, like even when I'm working with my coach or I'm just doing more of my dietary protocols on myself, if I'm going to drop calories, I'm typically going to drop as few carbs as possible. I'd rather have less fats, just because I am somebody who prefers carbs and I love how I perform with carbs. You do really want to make sure, especially if you're sort of lacking energy in your workouts and stuff, that might be one of the things you look at is, are you having enough carbs before and after your workouts? I had a client that she's just in a fat loss phase. We just started about a week ago. And so that was one of the things that I have her looking at based off of our call together yesterday. I just said, hey, if you're not feeling super hot in your workouts, it could be just a mental thing where we're just adjusting to this cut, but also look at your nutrition timing. Maybe you want to have X amount of carbs pre and X amount of carbs post so that you can have a better workout experience and recover better and just not feel like a weak ass bitch in the gym, right? Because we don't want to feel weak in the gym. We want to feel strong, and carbs are fuel for the workouts. So carbs and fats are both sources of energy to fuel our workouts. Protein is not really a source of energy. It is the building block for your muscles. So yeah, anyways, lots to break down there, but carbs are not bad. Obviously, I love them. Carbs and consistency. Next up, this person says, Shakely equals drink/eat just these shakes and nasty snacks and one meal and you'll lose tons of weight. That'll be thousands of dollars. And I lost 5 pounds and was miserable. Apologies to anyone who sells or loves Shakely. Not my jam for sure. And then somebody else commented, or Optavia. Hell yes. Like, again, I used to do this shit, you guys. I did Advocare, I did Isogenics, I did the 10-day cleanses, the 12-day cleanses, the 24-day cleanses, all these things where you were like not eating for like 2 days or 4 days or something. And then the days that you were eating, you were having like 2 shakes a day plus a meal. Like, duh, you're going to often lose weight off of that because you're replacing all of these meals with 200-calorie shakes. And then you get to eat actual food one time a day. Duh, you're going to lose weight, but like this person said, you're also going to lose thousands of dollars. So it's funny. I'll get on sales calls with people who are interested in coaching and stuff, and they're like, well, what does it cost? And and do I still have to buy my own food? And I'm like, yes, you have to buy food. Like, I want you to buy the food that you enjoy eating. Like, that's something you're going to have to do for forever, right? You're going to have to buy food, and you're going to have to like buy food you enjoy eating, right? Cool. That's what our coaching teaches you to do, is to figure out what are the foods that you like, the foods that you enjoy, the foods you should be having more of, the foods you should be having less of, and how can we make sure that these are foods you can see yourself eating for forever, not, hey, buy my powder, buy my pill, buy my patch, my wrap, whatever, and you have to buy this product in perpetuity, because I'm locking you in with this like fucking auto ship every month. No, it doesn't work like that. Our coaching, again, is based off of being with us for anywhere from like 6 to 12 months at least, and we're teaching you how to eat for life for the rest of your life. Because I don't know about you guys, I didn't grow up learning how to eat properly. I've had to figure it out in my adult life. I've got all the certifications, all the credentials I could ever want that have taught me how to figure it out, but I'm still learning all the time. There's still so many things coming out in the world of fitness and nutrition. And that's why you hire a coach, is because that's what we live and breathe. We are constantly learning more and more about how to support people's bodies with proper nutrition. And guess what proper nutrition is? It's not a shake or a pill or a wrap or a patch that gets auto shipped to your doorstep once a month. All right. I talked to somebody yesterday, and she is somebody who had done Optavia last year. And so I was like, can I ask you like how much it cost? And so she's like, yeah, it's like $400 a month. And I'm like, cool. And so what did you get? And she told me it's like the powdered shit, whatever she's like. And then you still have to go like buy groceries and stuff. So, you know, like $150 a month. And it's like, cool. So people are spending $550 a month on shakes, on powders, right? Our coaching is less than that. And we actually help you every day. And like I said, our goal is for you to work with us and to just be set for life so that you don't have to keep buying something from us for forever. We want to teach you how to do this, and then you know how to do it. And guess what? You also get to teach your friends and your family how to do it too, which is really fucking cool. All right, next one we've got cheat weekends. They simply undo all the work from the week. You know, that's so true, you guys. Like, I'm gonna shut this off so I can get my whiteboard again. Like, let's just think about that. Let's pretend you're somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm on a 1,200 calorie diet. Awesome, cool. All right, I'm gonna eat 1,200 calories. Yeah, so if I just eat, like, if I go by MyFitnessPal and it tells me to eat 1,200 calories 7 days a week, I'm gonna get to my goal. I'm gonna lose my 10 pounds in 2 months or whatever it is. So what is that? 8,400. Okay. So let's say again, you're supposed to be eating 1,200 calories a day. Again, this is bullshit. You probably shouldn't be eating that, but this is maybe what an app told you to do. So 1,200 times 7, 8,400 calories a week. So let's say, okay, great. You're doing 1,200 calories, but you're only doing that 5 days a week, because then the weekend comes and you're like, fuck it, full send. So we eat 1,200 calories 5 days a week. That leaves us 6,000 calories we've consumed Monday through Friday. But then if on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday roll around and you're eating 3,000 calories both those days, which is not unheard of. You're going out drinking, you're going out to brunch, you're going out to restaurants, you're having fast food, you're swinging by here and there on your way to your kids' events and stuff. So 2 days, you're having 3,000 calories. So, okay, you had 6,000 calories all week long, eating just 1,500 a day, or 1,200 a day. And then you had 3,000 more calories over the weekend. Well, you were supposed to only be eating 8,400 calories throughout the entire week to hit your 1,200 calorie a day goal, which is what a lot of people tell me, right? They say, well, I'm not losing weight, but I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day. Sure, sis, you might be 5 days a week. You sure shit ain't 7 days a week if you're gaining weight, because you should be losing weight off of 1,200 calories. Everybody would. But again, we have 6,000 during the week. Oh, we also have 6,000 on the weekends because we're eating like an asshole. So now all of a sudden we're having 12,000 calories when we're supposed to be eating 8,400 calories. You're not going to lose weight if you're eating 1.5 times as many calories as you're supposed to be in order to actually lose weight. So remember, when you decide to say, fuck it, full send on the weekend because I was so good all week, you're undoing the calorie deficit you created. And I know that was kind of an extreme example, but it's one I see all the time, right? I have clients constantly that, they're tracking and they're like, oh, I'm in a deficit. I'm like, yeah, you only tracked like 70% of the days this month. So maybe you were in a deficit that 70% of the time. The other 30% of the time, I don't know what the hell you were doing because you weren't tracking anything. So because you haven't lost any weight, you were not actually in a deficit because you undid the deficit on those days that you were eating higher calories. Just because you didn't count it, just because you didn't log it in MyFitnessPal, doesn't mean it didn't happen. Like, you created an undoing of the deficit, and that is why you're not losing weight. Okay, so quit treating those weekends like a free-for-all. It's not a thing. You should be eating well all week long, including the weekends, if you actually want to reach your goal. You can't just decide to turn it on and turn it off. It doesn't work like that, you guys. All right, next one, extreme intermittent fasting, AKA starving. Yes, so intermittent fasting, it's just creating a timetable for your calories. The reason why people are successful with this is because, let's say they get up, they start eating at 6 a.m., cool, they go through their day, they have their breakfast, they have their lunch, they have their dinner, but they don't give themselves like a time to shut it off. So oftentimes what I see is people just consuming excess calories at the end of the day, at night or whatever, right? They're like snacking on things off their kids' plate, or while they're prepping dinner or something. They're just grabbing things off the pantry, out of the fridge, just nonchalant, not thinking about it. They're also, having a glass of wine or two or a bottle after dinner because they're sitting around and they're watching Netflix, or a bag of popcorn or some ice cream or whatever, little snacks and stuff like that. And so then all of a sudden, when we say, hey, you're not going to eat starting at 6 a.m. and go all the way until you go to bed. You're actually going to be on this time restricted window. You're going to intermittent fast. You're only going to eat between the hours of 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. That's kind of a common one. A lot of people will do like a 16-8 where they fast, meaning they don't eat for 16 hours and they only eat within this 8-hour window. That's why they end up losing weight, is because they cut out all the extra calories that they were having as they were sort of just grazing and stuff through the day. They're a lot more intentional when they're like, oh, I'm only allowed to eat during these hours. I'm going to cut it off at this time. So again, they're not having a bunch of excess stuff that they were before they started putting a time cap or a time restriction on when they were going to eat. So that's why people lose weight when they're doing intermittent fasting. You can eat whatever you want to. I'm going to tell you right now, women primarily, fasting is not great for them. Intermittent fasting is not great for them because it can fuck up their hormones a lot more. It doesn't mean that it's unheard of. I have a client who practices it. She's like 50 years old. If that's what she wants to do, great. That's what she wants to do. If that's what makes her feel good, awesome. I just tell her the pros and the cons of it. You are an autonomous adult. You get to decide what you want to do and when you want to eat. I happen to be on kind of a restricted window just because of the nature of my life and like what it looks like. Because I actually just don't prefer to eat past like 5 or 6 p.m. So I'm somebody who I like to have my last meal 5 or 6 p.m. because I tend to go to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest usually. And so I choose to not eat within 3 hours of going to bed because it's very disruptive to my sleep. So because of that, it kind of means that I'm on an intermittent fasting protocol, if you will, but it's not intentional. And guess what? You're all fasting every day. We fast when we go to bed every single night. So you should be fasting for at least 8 hours every day because you should be sleeping for at least 8 hours every day. And then somebody else said, this last one was like, I had a GI doctor tell me I didn't need to do anything about my diet after telling me that I had ulcerative colitis, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's an inflammatory bowel disease, so IBD. And so this had, I'll just read a little something here so it makes better sense, in which abnormal reactions of the immune system cause inflammation and ulcers on the inner lining of your large intestine. It can develop at any age, but the disease is more likely to develop in people between the ages of 15 and 30. The cause is unknown. People with this condition have problems with their immune system. However, it's not clear if immune problems cause this illness. Stress and certain foods can trigger symptoms, but they do not cause ulcerative colitis. So again, just because it's not caused by foods doesn't mean that the foods that you're having can't make it worse, right? Because as it said, they can trigger symptoms with your stress and with your foods. So clearly this person needed to change up their diet, their intake in order to feel better by not displaying some of those symptoms and whatnot. So I think it's super important, you guys. No disrespect to doctors. Like, one of my best friends in the world is a doctor, but she knows, and I know, doctors don't know shit about nutrition. They have to take like 1-2 second class on nutrition. That's all they ever do about it. I promise you, doctors don't know shit about nutrition unless they've actually studied it and done tons of different credentials and certifications with it. I'll just have you know, one of my most challenging clients ever was a doctor, and she didn't know shit about nutrition. Okay. She was definitely underfueling. She was eating all the wrong types of things. She was eating none of the right types of things at all. They don't know anything. Just because they're a doctor doesn't mean they know everything. And it certainly doesn't mean they know anything about nutrition. So I'm always going to challenge you to speak with somebody who knows something about nutrition, because it ain't them. So this was really great. I loved going into some of these myths and stuff. But now let's close it up with just why all diets work, you guys. Why all diets work. And so I know that this was nutrition myths and everything, but this really comes from the what I was talking about with like the fasting and how it works, how the Optavia or the Shakely or whatever, those work. All these diets work. Every single diet works because they create a calorie deficit. Okay. If you choose to go keto, guess what? You're going to lose weight because you're cutting out an entire food group. You went from eating all these foods and you're no longer eating those foods, and you're likely not really replacing them with anything either. Let's say you decide to go keto, but you were eating 2,500 calories a day, and now you've gotten rid of all those different foods. Now you're only eating 1,500 calories a day. Yeah, you're going to lose weight. Why? Because you created a 1,000 calorie deficit. That's why that diet works. Intermittent fasting, again, when you're grazing and you're doing all this from like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and you're just eating a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, nope, I'm only eating between 12 and 8. Now you've gotten rid of all those excess calories that you were eating between 6 and noon, and from 8 to 10 going to bed, all those calories no longer exist in your daily intake. So you have created a calorie deficit. All right, you go on Optavia or Shakely or whatever, you're replacing your meals that were 600, 800 calories because you were going out for fast food or you're going out to restaurants or whatever. You've now replaced those with 200 calorie shakes. Duh, you're going to lose weight. You have created a calorie deficit. So this is why every diet works. There's absolutely no diet that doesn't work. Every diet works because it creates a calorie deficit. So my question for you is, do you want to keep fucking dieting? Do you want to keep spinning your wheels and wasting your time? Or would you rather learn how to diet? Okay. Here's the thing. Diet means your nutrition. Okay. You're not on a diet. You're not doing a diet. Like, sure, you can be, but technically your diet is the foods that you eat. So wouldn't you rather your diet consist of foods you enjoy, foods that you love to have in moderation, foods that you also love to have on a daily basis, foods that make you feel good, foods that make you look good, foods that make you perform well? Wouldn't you rather have that as your diet for the rest of your life instead of being stuck into, I'm never having carbs again, I'm only eating shakes for the rest of my life? Like, no, I know what my answer is, and that is exactly why I do what I do. So anyways, if you're somebody who would love to find out all about how to actually achieve results, life-changing results, while not having to fall victim to any of this bullshit, let me know. But I'm glad to hear people want to do a nutrition label breakdown. So I'll be bringing out more of that. And I appreciate you guys for any feedback that you have. Bring your friends, have them join the group. Everybody we could get in here so we can start teaching them things. I feel like that's a huge win. So couldn't do it without you guys. Appreciate you so much. Have a good one.